Hey, what up, guys? Coming to you this morning with another 2019 year-end top 10. I'm going to start the division we're doing now is the 168-pound super middleweight division. This division, we're going to talk about the dropouts. This video, we're going to talk about the dropouts and numbers 8, 9, and 10 if we can get to all of them, because we have 5 guys that dropped out. Excuse me. So let's kick it off with the guys that dropped out. The first of those is 29-year-old former 3-division world champion at once, Canelo Alvarez. He's still currently the middleweight champion. He entered the year, and I think technically he's still considered to be the WBA regular champion at 168. He entered the year number 2 in this division because last year he was coming off of 2018 where he fought Rocky Fielding. I dropped him out. I'll discuss his year in detail when we discuss the 160-pound middleweight division, because he made the top 10 obviously there. But he basically dropped out because he didn't fight at 168 in over a year. So I basically dropped him out. That's why he's not in this division. So that's what's going on with him. He's not ranked in any he's still considered to be the WBA regular champion, but he hasn't been stripped formally of that title yet. So we'll see what happens going forward. The next fighter to drop out is 29-year-old former IBF champion Jose Uzcategui. He entered the year, I believe he entered the year number 7 or 8 and was the IBF champion. Lost the title to Caleb Plant in January in a good fight. He fought hard in the end, but he just got outboxed and outworked. I think he got knocked down 3 or 4 times in that fight, and kept getting up, and he closed the fight strong. He hurt Plant, had him tired in the late rounds. He swept the last 4 rounds, but had lost the first 8 rounds. So it was a clear decision win for Plant, especially with the knockdowns, and Plant became the new champ. He came back in September, took on some nobody, got a first-round knockout win, did Uzcategui, and then in December, actually on December 28th, just a few days ago, he took on little-known Lionel Thompson, who was coming down from light heavyweight. And he got knocked down early and just couldn't figure Thompson out. Thompson was a slick boxer. He moved. He boxed really well. And he beat Uzcategui by a clear unanimous decision. So 2 losses in the same year, especially to some nobody at the end of the year. I'm dropping him out because of that. So Uzcategui drops out. He could get back in. He's a solid fighter. He brings it, but I don't know how focused he is. And maybe he's overlooking guys, and maybe he thinks he's a lot better than he really is. I don't know. But he definitely could get back in, but he's got to get the opportunity and get the fights, and 2020 needs to be a big bounce-back year for him. The next fighter to drop out of the top 10 is former two-time super middleweight champion James Gouw. 33 years old. He entered the year number 3, and in February he took on Chris Eubank Jr., and dropped a one-sided 12-round unanimous decision in a fight that he was the favorite in. Gouw, after that, decided to hang up his gloves and retire. And I think that was the right call. There was other fights out there, but Gouw, really ever since he became world champion, struggled in a lot of fights. That he came in a favorite, and he even lost to Caleb Truax a couple years ago by a decision. He came back and beat him. But he just didn't come in and dominate the way that we thought he was going to, especially against Chris Eubank. Eubank knocked him down a couple times, and it was really a one-sided decision. So I like Gouw. I don't blame him for retiring. It is what it is. I do think he could come out of retirement, but I don't know how good he's going to be. He's older. He's slower. And, I just don't think he's coming out of retirement would make sense for him. All right, the next fighter to drop out of the top 10 is 31-year-old former super middleweight champion George Groves of the United Kingdom also. Groves came in to 2019 coming off of 2018 where he got a big win in the semifinals, beating Chris Eubank Jr. of the World Boxing Super Series when he beat him. Soundly beat him in a fight that a lot of people thought Eubank was going to win, myself included. I picked Eubank to upset Groves, and Groves went out and completely outboxed him, got a clean unanimous decision, retained his title. And he entered as the number 1 seed into the final against number 2 seed Callum Smith. And it was a good fight. It was a good fight. Smith was just bigger and taller and caught him with a clean punch and a pretty even fight to that point and knocked him out in the 7th round. Gouw was going to come back. He was talking about coming back, and then he just decided he was going to retire from the sport. At 31, the Gouw had been around for a few years. Groves had been around for a few years, banging away since like 2013, 14 when he fought Carl Froch in those years. So I thought he was going to stay around because he's been around for a while, and maybe just too much wear and tear is what he thought. But I still think Groves could have been a big deal. I think there's a slight chance he could come back in 2020, but I'm leaning towards he's probably going to stay retired. But I still think he could have done more and had something to prove. I don't think the loss to Callum Smith said to me that he was washed up and done because of how good he looked against Eubank earlier in the year. So I don't think it was the same as what happened with James DeGale. But, if he thinks retirement's best for him, good for him, and he had a good career. I like George Groves a lot. The next fighter that drops out of the top 10 is 28-year-old, undefeated, and former super middleweight champion Gilberto Ramirez. Ramirez he entered the year number 5 in this division, and he decided to move up basically to light heavyweight and fight. He held on to the super middleweight title while he did that, and then after he decided 168 was too hard to make and he had better opportunities at 175. We'll go into his year in detail because he did crack the light heavyweight. Actually, I already talked about his year in detail. So you could go back and take a look at the light heavyweight top 10 to get him. But yeah, Gilberto Ramirez, I don't see him returning to 168 because he was big in his lone fight at 175. So I really highly doubt he makes it back into the top 10. And then the last fighter to drop out of the top 10 is 30-year-old former 2-time world title challenger Jesse Hart. He entered the year number 9. He's coming off of 2018 where he dropped a hard-fought 12-round majority decision to Gilberto Ramirez in their rematch for the WBO super middleweight title. No shame in that loss. He barely lost. His 2 career losses are to Gilberto Ramirez, but he decided to move up to light heavyweight. I already discussed his year in detail and what he's got coming up. He's fighting again January 11th at light heavyweight against Joe Smith. I don't see Jesse Hart returning to 168. He has so much opportunity at 175. So if you want to know his year in review and his breakdown, take a look at the 175-pound light heavyweight top 10. And that's it for all the guys that dropped out. So 6 fighters dropped out, so a big turnover heading into this year's top 10. So let's start with number 10. Finishing the year number 10 is former world title challenger John Ryder of the United Kingdom. Ryder entered the year basically unknown. He was not ranked, and he wasn't ranked. He was coming off of 2018. He didn't do much. His claim to fame that I saw on his resume was his split decision loss to Rocky Fielding in 2017. Rocky Fielding's the guy that Canelo knocked out on the zone in December of 2018. So that was his claim to fame. But he came out of nowhere and got a big win over undefeated Bilal Akawi. He got a 3rd-round TKO win there and became the WBA interim champion. And that kind of turned his career around for sure. That led him to a title shot in November where he got a mandatory title shot against super champion Callum Smith. And big opportunity. And the reason he cracked the top 10 is because he busted his ass in that fight. He fought his ass off against Callum Smith. It was a really good fight. They went, it was a good fight for him. Callum Smith just kind of looked like he was working in there, but not hard. Like he was overlooking John Ryder. And John Ryder exposed him and really pinned him against the ropes and fought hard. It went to the scorecards, and for some reason, the judges came back with a wide unanimous decision for Callum Smith. I don't have a problem with John Ryder losing the fight because it was close from what I saw. I didn't score it personally, but it did seem like a close fight. But man, the fact that they scored it so wide in favor of Callum Smith, that's the robbery part of it. But John Ryder proved that he could compete against the best in the division. So yeah, John Ryder deserves to break the top 10 because of that. So I think he's going to have a better year and have more opportunity in 2020. I think, you got guys out there like Billy Joe Saunders and who I think he fought earlier in his career, and Danny Jacobs and Matchroom and DAZN have some good fighters. So I think John Ryder will get opportunity in 2020. Okay, finishing the year, his resume is he's 31 is John Ryder, and he's let me see. He's 28-5 with 16 knockouts. And he's currently the WBC and the WBA's number 4. So maybe if he doesn't get any of the big names in the ring, he can try to land some kind of an eliminator to get back in the mix. Okay, next, finishing the year number 9 is former world title challenger Avni Yildirim of Turkey. Yildirim came into the year, he was unranked, and really his claim to fame to me was when he competed in the World Boxing Super Series, the first tournament in 2017. In the quarterfinals, he took on Chris Eubank Jr. and got knocked out in like 3 rounds. That was his claim to fame. Somehow, he got an opportunity and a crack at the vacant WBC title in 2019 in February. We took on former champ Anthony Dirrell. But Dirrell went into that fight, like many others, thinking he was just going to blow out Yildirim. I thought the same thing. I didn't think Yildirim stood a chance against Dirrell. And Yildirim came out and fought his ass off. It was a great fight. They went back and forth. I think Yildirim suffered a cut, and it went to the scorecards after, I believe it was 10 rounds. Yeah, it was 10 rounds, and he lost a technical split decision in that one. And the fight, the decision was so controversial that the WBC ordered Avni Yildirim to be the next to fight for the title after David Benavidez, the champion in recess, got exercised his contract, his mandatory contract to fight Dirrell for the title in September. So now that's where Yildirim stands. He was supposed to come back in September himself on the Errol Spence undercard, but he had some controversy over drug testing that he ended up being cleared for. But through all that, he is in line to fight David Benavidez for the WBC title next. Huge opportunity for Yildirim in that it's what he deserves based on the controversy from the fight with Anthony Dirrell, and we're going to see if he can pull it off. He's a good fighter. He proved that against Dirrell, but is he an elite fighter? He's going to get tested because I personally believe David Benavidez right now at his best is unbeatable at 168 by anybody. But Yildirim's going to get a chance to prove himself against Benavidez, and we're going to see what he's made of. That fight has not been scheduled yet. It was supposed to happen January 25th, and that fight got pushed, and we don't know. I know that Benavidez's promoter, not his promoter, his manager, Sanskin Lukowicz, is trying to get the fight sometime in February or March, but haven't heard anything as I'm doing this video. And now finally finishing this video is finishing the year number 8 is American Lionel Thompson, who shocked the world. He came in out of nowhere, not ranked anywhere, and nobody even knew his name. I barely knew his name. And he's a guy that was competing at light heavyweight pretty much his whole career. He lost to a couple good fighters. Kovalev's the only guy that ever knocked him out. But he came in and I think he only fought twice. He fought in September against Scott Sigmund at light heavyweight, got a 7th round TKO. Sigmund's a nobody though. But then he got a huge opportunity on December 28th when he got to challenge Jose Ustadegui, former champion. Ustadegui, everybody thought Ustadegui was going to blow him out, so did I. And Thompson came out and outboxed him, cleanly outboxed him. He dropped him in the 1st or 2nd round, cleanly outboxed him, and outworked him and got a unanimous decision. And now he's a full-time super middleweight, and he'll have more opportunities moving forward. That was a big-time win for Thompson. I don't know if he's signed down with the PBC or if it was just a one-off, but Thompson got a big win over a former champion and a recent former champion, as Ustadegui barely lost the title back in January. So Thompson overall is 22-5 with 12 knockouts. He's more of a boxer. He's 34 years old though, so he took advantage of probably his last big opportunity to do something. He took advantage of it with flying colors and was able to beat Jose Ustadegui and convincingly beat him. And now he's got a golden opportunity to possibly do more. So we'll see where he's not currently ranked by a governing body because he barely beat Ustadegui, but we'll see who's going to rank him and where once he gets you know, once the governing bodies get together and see what they want to do. So, but a nice win. Congratulations to him, and he finishes the year number 8. All right, guys, so that's all the dropouts. That was number 8, Lionel Thompson, number 9, Avni Yildirim, and number 10, John Ryder. That's the 2019 year-end top 10s for the light heavyweight division. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.